Hey everyone, we're back for another video on SDWAN. Last video I was trying automate the process of pulling configuration from a remote server, possibly through DHCP or or some other medium or command scheme to bootstrap the router. Okay, and I quickly found out that with the SD-WAN routers, especially the Catalyst Edge, you had, let's say, a 8000 or 9000 has to be converted into SD-WAN. Okay, and this was done through a command, a specific command. Okay, and the command was, let me see if I can pull this up. The command was controller mode enable. So basically it was this controller mode enable. Okay, so once you enter this command, what happens next is that the router will ask, hey, or the next configuration, you'll ask a question: do you want to proceed with converting this router from an SD-WAN box to from a regular traditional configuration to a SC Edge? Yes, and it will ask you to reload. You reload, and then you have the command scheme to support SD-WAN. Okay, and in our case, before you ship a router to a remote site, you want to convert it first. You want to enable, right? Controller mode enable. Make sure it comes back up. Now the next thing is, after reading some documentation, and I'll show you guys what documentation, and I'll link it into my YouTube video, right? I'll post it under the description, the video description. This is the document that I'm talking about. It's Cisco SD-WAN design guide. Okay, this provides you probably most, the difference between design and architecture. I think most of my viewers probably know already the difference, right? Architecture is to just build the infrastructure, right? The design is the configuration scheme, or how the technology you deploy within this architecture. So without architecture, there's no design and back and forth, right? So we'll scroll down, right? And then this talks about, for example, some of, like in the earlier video when I was explaining how this worked, right? Segmentation, right? We went over segmentation. We did a packet capture also, and this pretty much tells you, how the packets are encapsulated, especially the IPsec packet. Their ESP in a UDP header. Okay, we did a packet capture and we saw a bunch of UDP header. Obviously, this was how the ESP, or whenever I did a ICMP reachability test from one segment, or from the VPN user segment to a different branch, right? VPN user. Then we did a capture source destination. The packet was encapsulated into a UDP header, so we didn't see, it was encrypted. We didn't see anything, right? So now I'm gonna scroll down. This is what I really wanted to talk about. Like, they do talk in this document. If you read this document, they talk to different cloud or medium you could use for to host your SD-WAN. So and then it goes over SD-WAN components, and same thing, right? The vManage is still called the vManager. You have now it's called Manager, Controller, Validator. That's your vBond. Controller is your vSmart. Manager is actually your vManage, right? They changed the name. Orchestration plane, that's the validator. That's your vBond, right? And then once you authenticate to the vBond, now you can directly talk to the manager and the controller. Okay, controller does all the route exchange and policies. The manager push configuration, right? That's what the management does. Okay, let's scroll down. And they use DTLS to communicate with each other. And then you can have different colors. This looks like a little bit like our cloud, right? You have your MPLS, your Biz Internet, and this is a private cloud, right? And then you have multiple different sites. You got Site 1, and you have what looks like a cloud. infrastructure as a service cloud, and then you have another site here. You have site 102 and site 1. So you can imagine site to site is going to be using IPsec. Site to controller is going to use DTLS, or to to manager or validator, right? It's going to use DTLS. Okay, so exactly what they're explaining here, right? Your WAN edge site, like site 102 v edge, right? Establish a control plane connection to the validator, right? Using DTLS or TLS, right? And that's how it's able to communicate. Once it gets authenticated, it can talk to now the manager and the controller, right? So in that sequence, scroll down here, right? So they give you a basic example of how this works, right? So this is the description. The Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN manager and controllers initially contact and authenticate to the validator, right? This is all nodes. Validator, remember, is the VBON, forming persistent DTLS connections, and then subsequently establish and maintain a persistent DTLS connection with each other, right? When edge devices, that would be your C edge or V edge, onboard in a similar manner, but drop the transient validator connection. So once they authenticate to the validator or the VBON, they no longer need to talk to it. They can maintain a DTLS connection with the manager and the controller, right? So this is one time, and then the communication then is direct to controller and manager. Okay. Okay, let's scroll down. They had a better diagram. So right, this diagram is better, explain better the sequence of event, right? On one, the WAN edge establish a DTLS tunnel with the validator. The validator forwards, right, information to the controller, which is the vSmart, and to the vManage or the manager, right? On two, the manager talk directly via DTLS to the WAN edge. This is where it onboards the, push the full configuration file of WAN edge if available, right? And then on three, you communicate with the controller via OMP, Overlay Management Protocol. This is how the route table are exchanged, and this is where we see a similarity with route reflector. And then and policies, right? Encrypted keys and all that, okay? And four, WAN edge to WAN edge, establish a IPsec tunnel. This is all data, right? And you have a bidirectional forwarding session established between the two. So without IPsec, you have no BFT session. Okay, all right. And then this is where this is what I was attempting last video, right? Okay. So, but the process, there's two processes. There's ZTP, zero touch provisioning, and plug and play, right? And ZTP is generally for the virtual appliances. PNP would be for your Catalyst family, like 9000 or 8000 or ASR 1002, I think, HX, that are compatible with the SD-WAN, right? Now, this is how zero touch provisioning works, and I wish I had some of these. I could include some of these elements in my lab, but I can't, because this is mostly a Cisco construct. I think you can, get, if you can pay for an on-premise service for zero touch provisioning server that would do, that would live within your environment, or it can be in the cloud, right? But it's practically very similar to plug and play. Now you have your zero touch provisioning server, and you have your vEdge router that will, as soon as it boots up with some bootstrap configuration, and get a DHCP, IP addresses. I mean, it does get DNS information from the DHCP, can resolve to this ztp.viptela.com. That's this server. Let me zoom in and see if I can make this a little bit right. So this is your oops, I think I went low. So this is your zero touch provisioning server, right? So once that's done, right, it will get redirected to a corporate orchestrator, right? That would be your controllers, I guess. And then the vBond, the validator, will send you an initial, you know, DTLS connection, right? And then you will set up a bidirectional connection. Then you're fully registered because you can now talk to the vManage and the vSmart, or what they call them now, controller and manager. Right. It's the same thing with the IOXC device, right? It's a plug and play server. You have a different device helper at Cisco.com, right? Again, those servers can live on they say factory default configure. Those are on-prem. They can be on premises or on the cloud. But the method that I like best is this one, right? It says manual, but some environment don't allow you to, just, I guess, connect to a cloud, right? You could, but you have to, probably comes with a price. Okay. Now Cisco does give you the option not to, right? And I like particularly, let me see, the one that I truly like. This is the bootstrap this is what I like best right here. Okay. All right. So you can, build the configuration from the vManage, right? Offload that configuration into a USB drive, and then plug it into, the actually, let's say, Catalyst 8000 hardware, like a physical device, and then download the configuration into its flash and ship it, right? And then bootstrap from that configuration. Right, I'll show you guys how this works. It's quite interesting, right? And this is the way I recommend to do it. Unless, I mean, if you don't have any security requirement or any limits on how to go about this process, you can do PnP for the iOS XE devices, the physical boxes, or you can do zero touch provisioning. It's up to you. But this method is, I think, for me, the best method, right? I like in my lab, particular to my lab, right? In my lab, I can do that, okay? And I'll show you guys how to do this, okay? All right. Well, and let's go back here. What I'm going to do is I will post this link, and I found this very helpful. Okay, this is public information. You can find this on the Cisco website, right? This is Cisco documentation, right? Cisco.com, right? It just talks about architecture and design, and generally it gives you all this, it's a good read. Okay, it gives you all these information, I think very useful information on how to deploy SD-WAN, right? With some configuration example and so forth. But I suggest to read it, okay? If you want to deploy this technology in your environment, just to give you an idea of, how much work you would need to, deploy actually, or meld it, or introduce this into your environment, right? Maybe you may need to update all your nodes, or you have a specific, you have a DMVPN. This model will fit definitely better a DMVPN kind of configuration, right? But if you had a more traditional kind of network, what would you need SD-WAN for, right? So, anyways, that's all I have. In the next video, we'll set up the lab to do a manual bootstrap, okay, configuration. All right. Oh, one more thing before I stop the video and give you the link. You don't have to convert the device, and like the steps are, you can take your bootstrap configuration, put in a USB, and drop in your flash, and then you can convert your router, right? Because the flash, what's in the flash don't go away, right? You convert your router using the naming the proper naming convention for the configuration file you drop in the flash or the boot flash, right? And it will automatically find that and bootstrap from it. Okay, in theory that's how it works. All right, so next video I'll show you guys how to do this. I've been working on trying to make my video shorter. So thank you for watching.